Devotional, I'd like to turn to Hebrews chapter 13. Read two very familiar verses, verses 5 and verse 6. Let your conversation be without covetousness. Be content with such things as you have. For he hath said, I will never leave thee nor forsake thee. So that we may boldly say, the Lord is my helper, and I will not fear what man shall do unto me. When I read Scripture, I read it differently than most people. I don't read it like a normal book. I try to read it in blocks, phrases. In these two verses, for example, there are, in my mind, 7 blocks. The first one would be, let your conversation be without covetousness. Conversation referring to our overall conduct, our overall life. Let it be without, is let it be destitute of covetousness. That block states the subject. The subject is not covetousness. The subject is conversation. That is our overall life. That's the subject. All the other blocks are going to relate to that subject. Block number 2 would be, and be content with such things as you have. So in those 2 blocks, you have a negative concerning our overall conduct or overall life. That is, it's to be without covetousness. And we have a positive, that is contentment. So covetousness is not to mark or control our life. Contentment is to mark and control our life. Block number 3 would be for, that is because, stating a reason, or on account of, he hath said. He is the object of it's really the key to living in boxes 1 and 2. Now, this third block, for he hath said, would introduce the foundation. It would introduce the incentive for blocks 1 and 2. It's telling us how to accomplish blocks 1 and 2. Then block 4 would be, I will never leave thee nor forsake thee. That's what he has said. And that is the foundation. That is the incentive for blocks 1 and 2. Let your life be without covetousness. Be content with such things as you have. Then we come to block 5, verse 6. So that we may boldly say. So, in this case, it would mean in consequence of what has just been said, referring back to what God hath said. So, that we may boldly say. So that introduces the personal consequence of block 4, which is, I will never leave thee nor forsake thee. The personal consequence of that is, so that we may boldly say. And then the 6th block would be what was said. The Lord is my helper. That is the personal consequence or the personal application. The Lord is my helper. And then block 7 would be, and I will not fear what man shall do unto me, which again is the practical application. The final result of all of that is contentment. You put all that together, and you have a life without covetousness. You have a life that is content. Again, the overall subject is what is to mark and control my life. It's not to be covetousness, but it is to be content. To be content. With that in mind, connect box 3, which is for he hath said. Connect that with block 5, so that we may boldly say. So what you have is, for he hath said, so that we may boldly say. He hath said, so that we. So, for he hath said, that's God's say-so. It's God's say-so. And it impacts our lives. For he hath said, so that we may boldly say. How do you accomplish let your life be without covetousness? How do you accomplish be content with such things as you have? For he hath said that we may say. That's the key. The key is God's say-so. And it's God's say-so impacting our lives. He hath said so that we may boldly say. A lot of people know what God has said, but it has no impact upon their lives. And it's meaningless. It has to have impact on our lives. So we have to remember what he has said, so that we may boldly say. If we're unmindful of what God has said, life becomes larger, and that's not a good thing. It becomes bigger than it ought to. And God becomes non-entity. Life and the problems of life, the circumstances of life get bigger and bigger and bigger. And God is, if we do not remember what God has said, God gets pushed more and more and more into the background. And eventually is non-entity. So here's the key. He has said, so that we may. That is to mark and control our lives. What he has said, remembering what he has said, so that it impacts our lives. And that's how you achieve, let your life be without covetousness and be content with such things as you have. Brother Ben, if you'll come.